the recording. Let's get this show on the road. So, hey, I'm Droid, BC Jock, Trade Mama, NYSE. Welcome, guys. So, first things first, Fear and Greed Index starting the week off in neutral. That's first, I guess, for the past 2 months. Has it been 2 months? I mean, every time we start the stream, or we have these streams, they're always in fear or extreme fear. So the fact we're starting on neutral, I mean, it's barely neutral, right? It's right at the cusp of neutral. That's pretty good. So I'm in the firm camp that we are gonna see a bigger move to the downside up until we touch greed. So the fact we're in neutral, pretty decent. Looking at our liquidation levels, we can see here that there's a little bit more liquidity to the upside. So just a couple minutes ago, we did have that tiny sweep to the downside, but I do suspect we're going to take out some of these clusters before we head all the way up. So I'm expecting some move back down to 79.5, 79.4, and that's going to also reflect some of the ideas I have going into the stream. So, we'll get to that in a bit. Looking at the let's look at the 7 day, see what we're working with here. So the 7 day, about even, and again, the fact that we have a larger cluster of leverage right here, back all the way down to 79, I do think we head down. At least within the stream, I think we're going to continue heading down, but I do want to frame potential long positions we can take. Going to the 30 day, right? We are taking out. I do think we take out this cluster, and there's clearly an imbalance to the downside. However, as I maintain on a lot of streams, we're building that condition to just continuously have moves to the downside. Going to the 90 day, very similar. And of course, let's jump straight to the 1 year, right? There's still liquidity to the upside that we can take out before we're able to get that condition of just being able to head down all the way on Bitcoin. Let's go to the RSI heat map. So I jumped to the 12 hour, but if you look at the 4 hour, we did push back down from neutral all the way to 45.94. And we have the likes of Hype and Pengu, which is actually two coins that I want to take a look at for this stream. I do think we can potentially get, or at least frame some potential long entries for both these coins that we can sort of capitalize on. But if we jump on the 12 hour, notice that we're still slightly above neutral, right? Our average RSI is still pretty good, all things considered. And if we jump to the 24 hour, still pretty strong 1 week. You know, we finally gotten past week, and we're now above that. We are actually in neutral. So again, this move right here, I think, is more of a retracement than it is the top. But, you know, only time will tell if that thesis is correct. Looking at our liquidation heat map, we can see that there is that hotspot at 75.6 all the way down to 79.5. So, again, it does look like Bitcoin is going to try to get that hotspot out. Jumping to the 3 day, we have that hotspot, but note, we also have this hotspot at 82,600, right? And if we jump to the 1 week, 82.8, hotspot 79.5. That's again two levels we keep watching, or that keeps repeating while we're checking. 1 month 79.1. But hopping onto the 6 month, our hotspot at around 98,000 is still present, and that is the last hotspot to the upside, right? So that about does it for the fundamentals. I do think short term we are going to continue heading down, but we can potentially frame some interesting entries. But of course, we have to look at USDT dominance, because that's really what's going to influence our okay, sorry. Trading View just uh it just had a very interesting prompt for me. So it said something along the lines of, "It looks like your connection expired." I don't know, but my connection seems good. I don't know, but it just said okay. So the option to restore is right there. All right, so let's look at Bitcoin on the weekly and get Wait, here, I'll show you guys. We've closed this connection. Oh, that is not the right screen. Right here. We've closed this connection. We had to turn it because it looks like you've exceeded your plant's limit, which is weird. But when I restore it, everything seems to be fine. So I'm not too sure what that means. Maybe if I make a new layout, it's not gonna let me. But either way, that's probably fine. Looking at the 1 week here on Bitcoin, right? We closed last week very strong, touching the 200-day moving average. 200-day moving average comes down, we got that sharp rejection. However, right, one thing that is for certain is the Delta Pulse Wave is still printing a higher low, or at least it's trying to get above that zero line. We can also see here that the CPO Plus has successfully gotten above the zero line. So, while we are pulling back from this move, I'm not too concerned just yet. Now, if we close the week at 79.4, right, even just 79.4, that is a little concerning because that means that your likelihood is going to retest the reactor. If you don't bounce, then that is basically the top, and then we can just simply short from there. That's fairly simple, right? So the question is, are we going to continue higher? So something that the fundamental analysis that we couldn't capture, something that the fundamental analysis we did doesn't capture is sort of the specifics on how much people have been buying, right? Because what is true is that we've had massive buying over the past week, right? We had considerable inflows, and Smart Money has bought over $30 billion worth of Bitcoin 12 consecutive days, right? So what does that mean? It could be a charade, right? It could be a shit show. But what is true is that there is institutional buying for Bitcoin at this point. So from this point right here, people have bought over $30 billion worth of Bitcoin. Or same institution has bought $30 billion worth of Bitcoin. Now, with CPI coming at 3.8%, 0.1% higher than expected, this reaction doesn't seem entirely off, right? That seems reasonable. It's reasonable. But what if this is a liquidity sweep of the people who weren't able to get over here? Or a liquidity hunt, rather. Now, if Bitcoin can successfully push all the way up, that means that my signal of the 96k Bitcoin being the top is likely going to happen. If it fails here, we don't get a bounce at 77.7 and we continue to fall, we just giga short. Like, just go all in, short, stop loss at the top to be safe, and we're good. Right? So right now, we are at that pivotal moment, and I keep saying that we're going to have to test these reactors, and so far, we've tested we've tested two, actually. So we tested the dynamic reactor, we got above it, we closed above it 2 consecutive weeks, right? So that's fine. All right, 3 consecutive weeks, 1, 2, 3, all above the dynamic reactor. We tested the 200-day moving average. We're getting rejected, but it's not exactly dissimilar from what happened here, right? So it's possible that we can close above the 200-day moving average and tap that lower high zone or that prime block and then head down. But right now it's a little bit hard to tell, which is why I'm not too keen on calling too much shorts right now. I don't know if now is the time, considering your higher time frames are responding like this. Let's look at USDT dominance. See, I don't know. It's on everything. I'm a little concerned. You know what? I'll take a picture of this and I'll check it out after the stream. And I love how their example is Lyft. Like, it is so funny. Hold on. Okay, took a picture. Let's just restore the connection. Yeah. So let's look at USDT dominance here on the 12 hour. So, first things first, let's hide all of the drawings because we have been tracking this falling wedge here on the 12 hour for, well, technically since February. But really, this thing only spawned in about a week or two ago, right? So, the fact of the matter is, our market dynamics is printing potential projections all the way down to 6.657% and potentially up to 5.872%. Now, I don't think we can get that low on USDT dominance just from a I actually don't really have basis for that, but just from a like structural perspective, right? Because if you get down here, that means you're gonna have to break through this support that you basically formed, right? I don't think USDT dominance can go that low, but notice that when we do bring up our one of the expanding wedge that we were tracking, and we remove some of this gunk, right? Because it's a little bit outdated now. Right, when we remove these, you'll find that the smart target's actually not that far from the bottom trend line of, or from this, from the bottom trend line that we were able to draw. And notice that we didn't circle this point before, and that happens to be the smart target. Again, this happened right after we talked about this as being a potential target. So, right now, as USDT dominance is heading up, it's heading towards a relative high volume node right here. So I think within the stream, we'll be able to see whether or not it fails and rejects and it goes down. Now, the CPO Plus is testing the zero line. It could get rejected, right? The DPW could also get rejected from here, but it's a matter of waiting and seeing. A lot of things are, I think, quite a significant thing is going to happen tonight, or it's tonight for me, but today for you guys. It'll probably happen in the evening on whether or not USDT dominance is going to fail. It could double top from here, right? That could be a nice. Oh, that is not a very tight McDonald's, but it could be a very tight McDonald's just like that. But the 12 hour does say it wants downside. Let's look at the 1 day. Let's have a look at the 1 day. So the 1 day is near overextension, but we've basically been chopping around the dynamic reactor, right? The whole time, at least for the past week, we've been chopping around the dynamic reactor, and we've been trying to see whether or not we can fall below it. Right now, as it stands, we're basically we're receiving and giving, right? So these are the past 3 days, right? This is the weekly close. It closed over here. And then the past 3 days, we're moving to the upside. We are a little bit overextended, right? And that's why we got that flip. DPW also giving us the flip. But we're going to have to see if this can stick. Jumping to the 1 week for USDT dominance. The 1 week still paints the picture that it wants to go down, right? So despite the fact that we are technically dumping on some of our time frames, when you look at it from the macro, it more seems as though this is a retracement than it is a bigger dump just yet. Because for me, when we do have bigger dumps, I fully think that you're going to be at least below the zero line before the conditions for a larger dump occurs. I mean, take a look. This is August. This is August of 2025. We got the dump leading into November. People are taking profits right here, right? Or no, people are buying, and then suddenly they're taking profits at these regions. We got a bigger dump all the way down to Feb. So, as it stands, I think we need our CPO plus a little lower before we can consider just taking everything out, right, before we consider taking bigger shorts. But I do think scalp shorts will work, and I do think swing longs are probably better. So with that said, let's have a look at quite a few other coins. And by the way, for those who are new here, just feel free to send in any coins that you want me to look at or assets you want me to look at, right? And let's just have some fun. This is going to be a very chill session for the next hour and 30 minutes. And if you guys will give me a sec, it's a little warm here in the Philippines, so gonna turn on the AC. But while I'm doing that and sort of letting it start, let's just have a look at Hype. So Hype is one of those coins I called out last week. We got that very nice entry, minimal drawdown, if basically no drawdown, right? Nice stop loss, and we're basically nearing that same point of that same level that we had, right? Now, Hype on the 12 hour is in a rising wedge, which means that at this point, you're likely to fall, right? Just completely fall. And if we remove the drawings, that doesn't exactly look great for Hype. Now, excuse me. Notice that on the 12 hour, we're nearing overextension. We're nearing oversold here on Hype. This is where we had our entry, that change of character. We did get that change of character, but we're nearing that entry again. Now, why do I think Hype could reverse from here? It's a little weird, but Hype could reverse from here because look at how the 1 day is basically presenting itself. You got the bullish cross from the reactors, and your 200-day moving average, which is basically the long-term moving average on the daily chart, is now above the quantum reactor, which is supposedly a slower reactor. So you have obviously your faster reactor above, so that's bullish, but a slow reactor above another slow reactor is pretty interesting. Notice as well that while we did get multiple bearish divergences, they've basically been playing out. Right? They've basically been playing out. We're approaching the 618 here on the 1 day, and you're technically at the zero line here on Hype. So, potentially what we could be looking at is another swing move to the upside. Whether or not that breaks the high, I'm not too sure. Now, something I like doing, of course, is checking our predictive ranges. So let's have a look at where those might be. Let's let that do its thing. Okay, so we have a predictive range, and let's turn off the drawings. So we have a predictive range near our quantum reactor. Oh, sorry, our dynamic reactor. So we could revisit that, or we could bounce off the current 618. Now, if we turn this on and turn this off, we are at a prime block as well, but we can see that resistance might cap out at 46. Now, if we go to the weekly for Hype, we are starting to fail the dynamic reactor a little bit, but again, you're basically setting yourself up potentially for bullish butt cheeks, which of course we love on this show, right? But as it stands, Hype could be a very good long entry if we can find the appropriate long entry. Let me turn my camera back on now that the AC is running. So yeah, Hype could see a bounce given that the 12 hour is overextended. Let's go down to the 4 hour, right? We are looking for OBOS conditions ideally. So the 4 hour is also approaching potentially oversold. Now the 4 hour did print potential targets, and it even had a bullish divergence right here. So I think that we can probably scale even lower. Let's turn on the predictive ranges again and then turn off market dynamics so we can actually see. So we do have, ooh, right on the whale support right there. That's the discount on the 4-hour as well. Interesting. Okay. Let's go one screen and then go 4-hour. And let's zoom up. So we were looking potentially right here, which is where our predictive range placed us. Now, market dynamics could fail from here, right? We just need to see whether or not this would make sense from a structure perspective. Let's go to the 1 day again, and let's actually plot this on the arrow. Let's go ahead and remove this. Go to the 1 day. So it happens to also be the 1 day 618 and the 1 day 0 line. We also have our check magnet right there, so you can probably place it like this. Tighten that stop loss a little bit. And if we're going for predictive ranges, right, we can see a potential move from this point to this point right here, which could be interesting. That would give you a 1 to 8 risk to reward. That is wild. Okay. So kind of like the odds for hype. Not sure. Let's go back to the 4-hour and then let's go ahead and hide this victory because we don't really need to see it. But yeah. This could be an interesting entry. Let's just let it simmer because this is an idea. And I realized that we didn't really talk about oil, so let's go to oil. And last week we said that oil could be doing this double bottom structure, and lo and behold, we got those bullish butt cheeks, like right down to the drawing. Now, of course, it couldn't go all the way down, right? We were thinking about some leveled butt cheeks, but no, apparently we got an even better set of butt cheeks. We got the one with a higher bottom, a higher right. So what we could potentially be looking at for oil, and again, geopolitically, it makes a lot of sense that we could be testing our highs again at 119 and potentially even breaking out of the 12-hour. So if we look at predictive ranges, which is always nice to use in case you want to see where you could potentially go, right? We could be looking at a $138 barrel of oil, right? So I see a potential break of our high. So if we have this right here, we'll basically blast past the high, touch the predictive range, bounce off that support, and then head up. So I fully suspect a $137.8 barrel of oil. And again, we have higher ranges. It's going up to 167, and before, right, I said that oil could go up as high as 170. So it's not really off the table. So if anyone's trading oil, long oil. Like, quick answer is long oil, right? Let me look at chat. NYSE falling wedge on VIX. Yeah, let's have a look at VIX. Again, I have no clue what this is. I know I have my membership. My membership's until like 2028 or something. Falling wedge on VIX. So let's look at the index. Let me turn off my fan right here. It's not loading. Very odd. Sorry, it's VIX, right? The volatility of S&P and not the crypto, right? Yeah. Okay. Perfect. I don't know why that's not loading. Okay, let's try looking at or using something else. Why isn't that loading? Okay, there we go. Which time frame? But actually, I can. Okay, 4 hour already showing the falling wedge, right? Uh, I would say yeah. The one day, got two bullish divs, right? If you can, yeah, if you can break out of, if you can break out of that 200-day moving average, you're set. Yeah, 200-day moving average at 18.37. If you can break out of that, VIX is gonna head up high. So expect some shady business on the S&P 500. Let's actually look at the S&P 500. So we've been tracking. Okay, I think these are okay. No, 4 hour and daily. Perfect. So we were tracking, or at least we spoke about the S&P 500. I think 2 weeks ago. I don't think we were able to really touch on it last week, but remember we had this alert at 7,462.57, and as it stands right now, we're sort of struggling as we're approaching that level, right? As we're approaching 7,475. If VIX is going to head up, we then know that the S&P 500 is going to struggle to maintain its momentum going up. Let's look at our, yeah, look at that. Your momentum's flattening out. I know our, okay, let's try to reload our fluid zero line if that'll show us a much higher or at least overextended view. And then let's turn off market dynamics first, pull up the predictive range. Oh, okay. So, you're not that overextended on the S&P 500. Uh, you are above the fluid zero line, which is basically starting to siren some kind of alarm. But unless you're a little bit higher, like 45 on the oscillator, I think we're still fine. I think you're still gonna get to this region. Now it's relatively close to where price currently is. So if we jump to the 1 week, we might even have a higher predictive range. But we have one, two, how many consecutive green candles is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hate that number. But you have basically seven consecutive candles. You are approaching your overextensions. But if we turn on predictive ranges for the weekly, it still says 7-4. Oh no, it's a little bit higher. Oh no, it's not. It's 7,500 still. So that seems to be a very interesting number. I do think that you could blast, just like quickly wick above that region, then head back down. So the X marks the spot. It wouldn't surprise me if, we get sort of a blow off top, like boom, and then break down on the S&P 500. So yeah, it also set alerts. I mean, we set an alert at 7,462, but setting an alert at 7,500 and seeing whether we're overextended even on the weekly, I think that's a good strategy. Again, six consecutive no, sorry, it's not even six. 7 consecutive green candles, assuming we close this green on the weekly for the S&P 500, is not sustainable. You're going to have some sort of retracement. Even if it's not the giga short just yet, you need to retrace because it's not sustainable. So be prepared, I would say, to maybe look for shorts on the S&P 500. But yeah, that that confirms your analysis on VIX and YSE. Nice spot. So let's go to hype. Let's go back to hype, right? Ooh, W wormholes. So these alerts were from back then when we had the successful TP1 for wormhole. I'm not gonna touch wormhole at the moment. I think it's doing something weird. But as it stands here on hype, we did break that support. We are heading back down. I want to set. Do I have alerts already? Okay, I'll move this a little bit higher, like right here potentially. And let's look at Pengu. So we saw that Pengu was one of those things that just completely blasted off a couple weeks ago. Our long was successful on Pengu. So the question is, can we do the same thing again? So let's look at what Pengu's doing, right? We are testing the zero line here on the 1 day, but on the 1 hour, we're oversold. Let's hop into the 4 hour, which I think is a better judge of character, right? And this is a short idea that we had, but it looks like it didn't quite reach, and that kind of sucks, right? The 4 hour, we fell out of our reactors. That's not good, but we are at whale support. Let's go ahead and turn off market dynamics because it's mucking up our charts a little bit. Let's turn on our predictive ranges. Oops, I didn't mean to draw. Are our predictive ranges on? Okay, they're on. Where are they? What do you mean there's no predictive ranges? Oh, okay, right here. Oh, lo and behold, it's the 618 on the 4 hour. So we did get market open. Part of me kind of wants to just hop on this long, see what happens, right? So we could probably do a very low risk long. I think that could be something that we can take. Yeah. Uh. So 15 minutes, 4 hour. Low risk long. 15 minutes, multiple bullish divs. 4 hour, completely touched or completely grabbed the FVG there. I think we can do a very short, very short long, a very small long scalp on Pengu. Yeah. I think that would be great. So let's just work on the entry. Because I do suspect we could probably continue moving down. Considering if I don't. All right, let's have a look at NQ. And let's put this Pengu long as an idea for now. Set alerts. Again, we can always jump market, but I do suspect we're gonna go for Pengu. Yeah. Okay, let's look at NQ. So NQ on the weekly, you got your first overbought, so you're right. But notice, right, the 12-hour might be severely overextended, but your 4 hour isn't. So, despite it potentially forming a double top, unless it confirms and it gets past its neckline, it's a little bit hard to determine whether or not this is ready to short. You could front run it, but just be careful, right? Because the CPO plus is not on your side on the 4 hour. Let's hop into the 12 hours, see what you're looking at. You are getting weakening delta pulse wave, which is nice. 12 hour does look like it wants to head down. I'd say it still has room. I think it still has room. Yeah. I don't think now's the time to short the NASDAQ, right? As much as it looks like it's ready, I'm not sure. I don't think so. Let's look at the daily. So it did print the bearish div. Right, it does have a bearish div, green reversal triangle. It is overextended, but the 4 hour again could continue pushing. But having said that, if you want to take a short on the NASDAQ, right? If this is the top, you could take a low risk short, very small amount, very low leverage, and just build onto the entry, because I think you could potentially even hit 31,000 before it's time. I think, right? Now, I do see your point. The 12-hour 1 day, they agree with you. Lower time frames, however, let's look at the 1 hour. The 1 hour also agrees with you, but let's see the CPO plus. Ooh, yeah, I think you can do a small short on it. If it reverses, just make sure that your stop loss is a lot higher up, right? But the 1 hour does look like a confirmed bearish butt cheek, which is a first. Ever since we started the show, we haven't really had bearish butt cheeks just yet, but the 1 hour looks like it's got bearish butt cheeks, and I think a week from now we're going to be changing from looking for bullish butt cheeks to spotting those bearish butt cheeks. And let me just see who's on the show. Hey Marcellus, Chief, Kimbies, Strudel, welcome guys. And sorry, your name's truncated, but you have Mr. Demos. Yeah, thanks guys for dropping by. Actually, you know what? I'll probably tell OC first before I tell you guys. But I do, since it is the start of the weekly shows for this week, I will say in advance, do expect a potential shift in schedule again next week. Apparently, I have another. I don't know why, but apparently I have another business trip next week. I won't say where just yet until I tell OC and Alex, but apparently I have another business trip, and apparently this is one I can't miss either because it's important. So not fun, right? Well, working is fun, but like not fun because gotta move it. It's gonna suck a little bit, but thank goodness it's the same time zone, so I don't have to think about the difference, right? Although I would have really enjoyed it if the time zone we were going to was like a little bit ahead. That gives me a little bit more time, but is what it is. Let's go back to USDT dominance. Let's drop into the 12 hour. We can see a little bit more movement. You think this would be a bullish butt cheek. It looks like it. But if this fails, then you've got bearish butt cheeks too, and this time it's like very sharp butt cheeks. I don't know if you guys have ever seen. I probably shouldn't phrase it like that, but I don't know. Have you guys ever seen like very sharp butt cheeks? I don't think I ever have, but let me know if you've seen any. I've never seen any, but very sharp looking butt cheeks. Now we need to see if this is a true double bullish butt cheek, right? The CPO plus seems to think so, but until it gets past the zero line, it's hard to tell. DPW is sort of pushing up, but you can see it's not that drastic of a slope, so potentially this could just be another fake out. So yeah, let's go back to Pengu. So we did get that bullish div here on the 5 minutes. And you know what? This is the 4 hour. You know, part of me wants to think that Pengu is going to continue going to the upside. So I think we can do a market entry on Pengu. Yeah. Let's see how that 15-minute is looking though. Let's go to the 15-minute. See what's up. Oh yeah, 15 minutes had multiple bullish divs and it's gonna end green. If you have a very long wick like this, right? This was a retest of that wick, got 70%. If this closes like this, you're probably gonna get a 70% again. So I think we should position based on that logic. So let's go ahead and measure our good old trusty ruler. So it's about 77%, so that's 0.49 plus 0.049, so that's 0.534-ish. Yeah, right here. Let's just say that, right? And then right here. Puts us at discount. Let's go back to the 1 hour and look for the stop loss entry for this guy. I mean, the stop loss could be here, all things considered. We drew this earlier. One hour oversold. Could also be a bullish div if it closes like this. You know what? Let's put it back at the top of the discount here in the 1 hour. Let's extend this a little bit. Let's go to the 4 hour, see if our stop loss makes sense. It's below equilibrium, healthily below equilibrium. Yeah, and then I think we're good. I think we can go take this long on Pengu now. Let's also have a look at Hype before we decide. So Hype is also probably in that zone. Let's go to the 1 hour. Yeah, look at that. Reversal triangle oversold. Beautiful. So yeah. Oh, but the measured moves right here. So, you know, I think I'll leave Hype where it is. Stop loss isn't looking nice. So we've got 2 entries. For Pengu, we're gonna poise it just a little bit lower. Get that 12-hour fully oversold. Yeah. Technically, if we position it, yeah, you know what? This is fine. We could lower this. Yeah, I could lower that a little bit. Plays that over to that measured move, right? If we assume Bitcoin's heading up, then something like Pengu is gonna head up as well. So entry like that could make sense. Let's place that below that node. Yeah, I think that's the way to go. But yeah, you know what? I think we're going to get 2 entries right out the get-go. The 12-hour might still bite us in the butt for Pengu, but I think that I'm fairly confident with these entries as they stand. How's Bitcoin doing? Let's have a look at Bitcoin. Uh, Bitcoin pushed all the way down to 7. Oh, but it's oversold massively here on the 30 minutes, testing that dynamic reactor. It really could just be a tap, like a love tap. It might be a love tap of that previous month high. So if that's the previous month high and you love tap that, then if you're able to bounce off it, you're just heading up. That could be a love tap. But yeah, I think I'll put the Pengu entry in. Let me go ahead and calculate what our entry should look like on Pengu, like the leverage and whatnot. And then let me go ahead and post it. But the stop loss target and the entry area is on screen for you guys to have a look. I wish that, goodness gracious, wish it, there, stay there. So yeah, feel free to hop on that trade. I'm gonna hop on it after I determine what the leverage we should use. Okay. So it's about 20 lev. Okay, 20x. Okay, so 20x lev on Pengu. That's what we're looking at. Also, this is probably gonna be a thing where if you want to hop on already onto the entry, you can. But it'll be entirely up to you. Let's see right here. Entry price 90. Type this down. So yeah. By the way, guys, if you are using Prime Automation, there is a Langstrom bot already. So if you use Bluefin and use Prime Automation, you can just copy my bot straight away. I know that I believe Runair also has, so have a look. I think it'll be very fun. So 0.009056. Yeah, 9056 contract percentage 10 to 2%. 10x lev. Stop loss. But yeah, we gotta think about what our first profit target is. Ooh, okay. That hides everything. Okay, 0.0093 could be a good first take profit. Or actually, no. Let's base it off a higher time frame, like the 1 hour. But yeah, not. Zero 0.13. Damn, this silence is nerve wracking. 8318. TP trigger 0.01397. Then the first take profit target is going to be at, let's get this fib retracement going, 0.009344. Okay. Stop loss at okay, so that's the first one. I think it's gonna head to entry. Yeah, and let me go ahead and plot the signal here on the channel. Let's base it off the 1 hour. By the way, guys, again, if you guys have any coins you want me to look at, don't be shy. Yeah, it'll be fun. Then let's go ahead, let's turn off market dynamics first. And let's go ahead and delete this. I think that'll be good. Let's get this photo. This will be a very big swing here on Pengu. And yeah, let me get this started. to, what is this, Pengu? Valid if it'll reach. Oh yeah, this could be to market. Okay, perfect. So that marks our first entry for today. Let's see if we can spot any other potential entry. So hype is also a candidate that we want to potentially take in. So yeah, I also got that posted. Let's just wait and see on hype. But I will set alerts. But okay, I do have the alerts ready. Let's have a look at gold. Okay, I've learned my lesson to just restore the connection. Gold looks like it can continue lower. But notice the measured move is there. We can probably take a short on gold. If the measured move places us here, we can place that on support like that as a potential long entry for much later. Because again, it is in this falling wedge. So we could be getting something like this, which could be fascinating, right? We can probably short gold. Let's see if we can get a short on gold based on the 15 minutes, like a lower time frame. Get a nice entry. So the target for gold 4685 could also be a nice short. Right, get that 4-hour pumping dumping. Nice retest of that wick right there. Or we can go for the FVG. That could also be something. Potential short entry could look like something, could look like this. Stop loss 4,700. And we can take it down to even just a smart target right there. We could place it a little bit higher to protect against volatility. Yeah, that looks good. Yeah, this could be something. This could be something. So I'll put a pin on it, set alerts, right? But a gold short could be in the cards. Down to that smart target, even if it doesn't reach the entry here. But then on the 1 day, that still is pretty good, all things considered. Okay. ETH oversold, Arbitrum oversold, Link oversold, ADA oversold. Okay, we can also look at those guys. Let's look at ETH. I'm surprised GUR hasn't arrived yet, and missing out on potentially looking at what's this? Potentially looking at Solana. But here on the okay, why are we at 74,000? So ETH is in a falling wedge. It bounced off the bottom trend line, retesting that resistance. It looks also close to potentially going long. Okay. Just potentially go long on Ethereum as well. I do want to look for a long position on Ethereum. I think that would be great. So we still have about 28 minutes on the show. So again, if anyone has questions, we can have a look at them. I do think we could probably retest part of this region, right? So if we do a stick measurement, negative 4.4%, 0.44%. How much? It's not even the bottom. Hold on, 1 second. So negative 0.44%. 70% of that is going to be close to 0.3%. So 2252, and that would put you on the higher time frame at the somewhere near the discount. Relative high volume node as well. So if we zoom out, we can put this lower, below this swing low perhaps, right? Extend that, and we can base it off some potential longer targets. So we did get the McDonald's there, but let's go ahead and turn this on and then turn this off real quick. Turn that off. So potential targets could be 2380. So let's bring this back. Right, that could look good if we are indeed able to hit that. That could look good. But yeah, I do suspect we get some kind of retest on the 5 minutes. So move back down is unprecedented. Also, technically, we are still on the cut. We're basically holding on to this. Basically holding on to the dynamic reactor at this point, seeing if we can stay on. Let's go back to Pengu. Oh man, no, don't tell me it bounced already. That would suck. But let's see. Let's go back to the lower time frame, see what's up. Shoot. Undo. Let's lock this in place first so it doesn't move. Again, no retest on some of these. I do think you fall first again before you're able to move. But yeah, hype also looks good. I think we can call the long on hype. Let's just double check our higher time frames and see if it makes sense to call that long. It would make sense. On the 12 hour, that's going to be overextended. It would make sense, yeah. Okay. Also, I just realized, let's go back to Bitcoin before we go. Remember how we were looking at 79,500 under the fundamentals? Look at that. It just tapped it right there. So, seems like fundamental analysis really helping us out here. But I digress. Let's go back to hype. I think we can definitely get this 38.7 move. So we should probably play that. Yeah, Pengu's getting rejected. We could be going back to this region. Otherwise, this is just it's just going to fly, but I think this is going to be where we're headed. Oil is pumping. Gold should be... Oh, okay. Yeah, we could go short on gold as well. Again, how many percent is this? What are we looking at for percentage for the stop loss? 8%. That's pretty decent stop loss for a meme coin. Let's go back down to hype. Yeah, you know what? Let's call this long on hype. Yeah, I'll call this long on hype. Should be good in terms of resistance. Let's go to the 1 day, see if this is good for our resistance. Let's go to predictive ranges, turn this off. Are we below a predictive range? Ideally we want to be. So we're not on the dynamic reactor, which isn't good. Ooh, okay, so we gotta either we extend this and lose out on a lot potential moves, or we go for here. Hype could actually drop all the way here. Let's go back, see if we can make sense on the 4 hour. Okay, the entry is at the smart target. I think I'd be happier with this setup. Yeah, I think I'd be happier with this move on hype. With the 12 hour. Decisions. I think we can do a little bit higher. This could be like a flash wick. Still makes sense on the 1 day. Back to the 1 day. Yeah, no, that would just like briefly touch the dynamic reactor, and that will still keep us above, and then we can lower the or raise the stop loss a little bit. You know what? I think I'm happy with this. Yeah, I think this is good. I think I'll call the hype trade as well. Now that potentially means Pengu could head back lower. It is reaching our entry, but I do think we have a sufficient amount of stop. Let's go back to the 12 hour. That is near oversold. Let's go to the 1 day. On the 0 line, so this could be a bounce for Pengu. And then I think that's about it. The 4 hour. I mean, 4 hour, 12 hour look pretty good. One day it's on the zero line, so this could really be a bounce for Pengu. I think hype is gonna fail just because, unlike the others, it might not be fully oversold just yet. It is on this rising wedge, could find support over here. But yeah, if I'm not too sure, I don't think I'll post it. So I'll just let that cook and simmer first before we do anything about hype. Let's go back to gold. We were looking at this reactor at the point of interest as the potential short earlier, but we moved to the FVG as the potential short. I wonder if this is gonna pan out. It might not. CPO Plus does seem to think it can push higher, right, to that entry, but we'll have to see. Ethereum was oversold earlier, so let's look at Ethereum again. I think let's just wait this out a little bit for when the CPO Plus is oversold to put up market dynamics again. See if there's any support nearby. This is a prime block, right? Oh, there is support right here. It's very difficult to see, and I don't know. Okay, right over here. So the current candle, it's like right below discount. That could be a nice entry. Yeah. Okay. So this could be a nice entry here on Ethereum. Could be nice. Big gap though. So unless you're able to bounce up, you're not coming back, and you're just going to cascade back down to about 2,140. Let's look at this on the 1 hour or 30 minutes. 30 minutes should be fine. 30 minutes oversold. How's Pengu? Ooh, Pengu, just please go to entry. Just please. Oh my goodness. Oh yeah, look at that. So NYSC, this is what I was saying with NQ, right? It looks really good to short. So you could do a small short, but I suspect because your room to extend on the CPO Plus is still there, even if you are overextended, you can keep pushing up, which is illogical, but that could happen, right? With how the markets are responding, oil still pushing up. How is Zcash? We could actually probably short Zcash. I mean, it's had a like amazing run, right? So shorting Zcash might not be out of the books. Could definitely do that. 12 hour overbought. Very wonderful accuracy right there. Past that zero line. Could bounce off the 517. Yeah, no, it could. It could bounce on on 517, the point of control, or go for this FVG at equilibrium. This could also be a good long if it bounces. Ooh, 1 to 4. That is nice. It could do that. Okay, Pengu's gonna go for entry. I think we're just gonna do a little love tap and hope for the best. How's Bitcoin doing? Bitcoin is struggling a little bit. It could continue cascading down to 78, but actually, let's have a look again at how our liquidation levels look like now. So they've since refreshed from earlier, and you can see that earlier we had about an even cumulative ratio of leverage, but you can see that we've wiped out quite a big chunk to the downside, and now the shorts are outweighing the longs. Same on the 7 day, but we're not yet quite done. We could continue wiping out some of this long side liquidity real quick, right? But notice that if you zoom in, suddenly there's a huge pileup of shorts like right over here. So even at 79.7, if Bitcoin just quickly taps that, the people who went short here are screwed. And of course, 180 day, not much of a change, but we are approaching this cluster, so we can go as low as 79,000. That wouldn't surprise me before we head up to higher levels. Let's go back to the charts. Let's track Bitcoin again. Bitcoin just doing that tap. Pengu should follow. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, no problem. Feel free to ask. Okay, hold on. Just gonna stretch a little bit. Ah. Okay, that was nice. Ooh. Let's just watch this Pengu entry play out. We still have about 11 minutes on the show. Actually, let's have a look at XRP. It's one of those coins that, again, ooh, this was something we plotted. Yeah, just for fun. It's since played out. Or Ondo. So Ondo has since, broken out of its box that we were tracking. Fortunately, we weren't able to take that long for Ondo, right? It never really did a retest. It just skyrocketed. This change of character was a little suspect to me because it printed red, which means negative volume. But I think with Ondo, we can probably get some kind of move back to the upside. It's going to retrace all the way down to 0.35 potentially. So that is where the chick magnet is, but it's also our dynamic reactor. I do think it's going to do a love tap on it. So we're just going to have to see where it goes. Pengu's looking okay. Let's go down and be more specific on hype. Oh yeah, no, hype could be engulfing. This could really reach the support line here first before it even does its thing. Pengu's still heading down. How's Bitcoin? Also, let's look at dominance. Dominance is dumping, so that means Bitcoin's effect on the rest of the market is lessening or weakening. So we are at the node, which means that at this point, if Bitcoin falls further, it retests the box. So right now, things could be doing like a free-for-all sort of thing. So just because Bitcoin is pumping or dumping doesn't necessarily mean other coins will, as Bitcoin dominance is weakening. Let's go back to USDT dominance. So USDT dominance touched a previous week high. If it closes below that 7.22%, that I basically drew up, or this line that I've basically drawn at 7.218%, then you're very much likely going to have a case of double top, head down, retest the bottom of that range, break through, then lower. Uh-huh. Two Pump Addicts. I've never heard of it. Granted, I probably should do my own research about other servers or other things, but Yeah, I haven't really done that. I think I'm good. There might. I'm not sure how it influences my contract, or if me being there could trigger something. So I'll have to double check. But 200% pump on the charts or 200% ROI? Like 200% pump on the charts. On the chart. That's absurd. Not at 8 exactly 18 o'clock GMT. Mm. It's only on the UPEX crypto chart. So UPEX is in like uh one of these guys. Like UPEX? UPEX? BTCC. Is there a UPEX? There's a interesting, but it doesn't happen on the crypto chart on TradingView. Interesting. That's very interesting. So it's not. Ooh, so UPEX is an independent exchange then, or like it's a different exchange. UPEX. Interesting. Ooh, so it happens on the UPEX exchange where you get a 200% pump on the exchange, but TradingView doesn't reflect a 200% pump on any other exchange. Well, exchanges are independent, so they can play with price a little bit, right? But that might actually be a manipulation right there. It's not even might. That if it is true, then that is manipulation. And I mean, if you're making money from it, then great. But that this kind of negates any TA, right? Uh, and the exchange might. I don't know. I have to look into UPEX. Definitely gonna do research on that. But yeah, it's interesting. Is it is it a shitcoin that they FIL? Interesting. I mean, this whole time I've been saying that we should take swing longs, but if it's predicted to pump 200%, I don't know. I don't know if Phil can do that. Let me. Yeah, I got I say two monitors, but it's like monitor, keyboard, laptop. That's not really two monitors. Such is life. Uh, really, I don't think Phil is gonna pump. It looks like it's ready to dump. No, they actually. Hmm. Oh damn! I think that's just manipulate. That's pure market, pure exchange manipulation, not necessarily market manipulation. I don't know. I'll look into it. Interesting. But yeah, thanks for bringing this to my attention. That's very interesting. I know. I see. UPEX. Very interesting. Wait, did Tia even do that? I mean, I saw Tia pump 12%. Like that isn't false. Let's let's look at Tia together. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Did it do that? If it did it on Blowfin, then absolutely it's true. No, it didn't. Oh no, maybe it did. What was the high here? 1.55? Yeah, no. What? What? 220? No, it didn't happen. It did not happen. What are they on? No, I think that's pure exchange manipulation. Yeah, no. That's exchange manipulation right there. Like at the most 0.5. That's exchange oh damn, that's crazy. Oh, thanks for bringing it to my attention. Damn, that's interesting. That's something Piper and OC and I are going to talk about. Damn. Oh, that's exchange manipulation. That's crazy. And it's blatant too. I mean, look at how crazy the moving averages had to go. It's like completely flatline and then just complete push, then complete deletion, and then back down to the actual price of the market. So, you know, it could be that UPEX doesn't have as much reserves, and so swings like this could heavily impact the price on the exchange, or the exchange has an issue with coding that's leading to a much higher declared price. But either way, that's still manipulation to an extent. You don't want that happening for whatever reason. Ideally, uh, asterisk on ideally. You don't want that happening ideally. So, very interesting stuff. Uh, I'll get back to you guys if I think hype is gonna work out. But as we start this week off, while Bitcoin is getting rejected at the 200-day moving average and it's the middle of the week, it's still not yet cause for concern up until the close. If we close lower than the previous month high, that means we should prepare to maybe favor some shorts. But based on the data that we're seeing, we could potentially just be preparing or getting the liquidity to go for much higher. Again, we didn't really test this wick. I want to be able to test this wick, even if we can even move it slightly higher, but I think we want to test the wick before we frame any real moves to the downside. We're also not yet at our point on the 1 week CPO plus where we've been rejected twice. You can see 1, 2. We're not at that point yet. So I do think that, again, the potential to continue heading up is still there. For Pengu, it could continue lower, but if you did enter market, then you are trading it already. I think our stop loss is far enough. We should be relatively safe. Yeah, I mean, what was the drop on this if you went long here? Which, if you went long here, kind of terrible move, right? If you went long, but that is a 13% drop. 8% for me might be a decent buffer. Yeah. But yeah, that about does it. We reached the end of the stream. So thank you guys for joining me. Ooh, I almost completely ended it mid-sentence, but thank you guys for joining me today. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Again, 9:30 p.m. 9:30 p.m. 9:30 a.m. EST, 9:30 p.m. Philippine time. But yeah, thanks for joining me today, and I'll be sure to put this on handbrake so that I can actually post this. And I've missed posting a lot, but yeah, thank you guys for joining me today. I'll see you guys tomorrow, and don't forget to always use a stop loss. I'll see you guys. Take care.